Well, as the saying goes, there's no business like show business. But for 18 pandemic months, there was basically no business in Broadway theaters. Jeffrey Brown recently visited the theater district's artisans who are playing a key role in Broadway's return. It's all part of our arts and culture series, Canvas.
The green suit worn by Lin-Manuel Miranda in the musical Hamilton. Miranda told the costume designer it should be, quote, the color of money.
I practiced the law, practically perfected it.
Crystals and mirrors on Elsa's ice dress from Disney's Frozen. From Phantom of the Opera, what else? The Mask. They're defining images of contemporary Broadway, but even live in the theater, you don't get to see them like this.
What I think is so great about this is that when you're sitting in the 5th row or the 10th row or in the balcony, you're never this close.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The costumes, to the point where you can see the amount of craftsmanship, the workmanship, and the details that go into each one of these.
Brian Blythe helped put together this exhibition called Showstoppers. He's a founder of the Costume Industry Coalition, a group of more than 50 small businesses that make these amazing garments, like this dress from Wicked. Can I touch it?
I'll let you touch it, yes.
Why would you do all of this underneath in such exquisite detail?
Because they're living in this fantasy world. You know, they're in Emerald City, and when an actor puts this on, they become the character. That's how they realize their characters, through their costume.
But starting in March of 2020, no characters, no costumes, no shows. Now, gradually, tentatively, the spectacle is coming back. The musical Six was supposed to open the same day Broadway shut down in 2020. The Six, by the way, are the wives killed by Henry VIII. Now they've come back to life on stage. And opening night recently was sold out.
This is my first Broadway show back, which is very exciting. And I think it will be so inspiring.
We are just thrilled for Broadway, and we cannot wait to see Six. And we'll be back to see a bunch of shows.
Six is one of 15 Broadway shows reopening throughout September. 20 more are set to open before the end of the year.
Make sure you guys tickets and proof of vaccination. Thank you.
With patrons masked and required to have proof of vaccination or negative test results to enter theaters. Charlotte St. Martin is president of the Broadway League, a trade group representing theater owners.
We said from day one, we will not open unless we feel we can keep the audience, the cast and crew safe. They might be a little bit sensitive about the Delta variant, but we're trying to spread the message that we're safe, we're secure, and all of the magic they loved about Broadway is still there.
Magic and money. Broadway is a business with a large behind-the-scenes ecosystem fed by ticket sales, with every production employing scores of workers crucial to making the show go on. And then there's its wider impact on the city.
We're responsible for 97,000 jobs in this city, and 80% of the tourists that are coming here for pleasure give Broadway as their number 1, 2, or 3 reason for coming to the city. So we need to be open not just for us, but to bring New York back.
We lost over $26.6 million in gross revenue in 2020. And we have incurred an immense amount of debt during the pandemic.
Showstoppers, occupying an out-of-business sporting goods store on 42nd Street, was conceived as a fundraiser, with ticket sales benefiting costume workers. According to Blythe, they face a collective debt of $3.5 million. In an industry where nothing but the best will do, some of the people who make these costumes took part in the exhibition. Camilla Shaversky is a theatrical milliner. She makes hats.
I think there's a bit of a false perception with costumes that they're not as well made as everyday garments, and in fact the opposite is true. They have to hold up through 8 shows a week and still look beautiful the entire time, because when you're going to Broadway, more than regional theater, what you're paying for is the production value.
The pandemic, she says, forced some to leave the industry or retire early, revealing just how fragile some of the costuming trades are.
There are a lot of techniques and skills that really are passed down through training on the job, and that a lot of people don't know and would honestly be lost. If some of these shops closed, there's knowledge that would just vanish because it is so particular to the industry.
Another behind-the-scenes art form, fabric painter. Hochi Asiatico has worked on Broadway for 25 years, painting everything from the most detailed patterns to her characters' sweat. Painter for a Broadway show, most people probably don't know there is such a thing.
People don't know. And they just get the feeling of something, and I think they get into the character, but really the painting is very important for the development of the character.
Asiatico hand-painted these robes set in the early 19th century for the play Golden Child.
So we have to research the colors that were available at the time and the style of the time. Also, we wanted them to look a little bit embroidered, so we have to consider the distance on stage, how the lighting works.
The people we met are now back at work making costumes for productions. But will the audience return? With tourism still down in New York City,
This is Broadway.
the Broadway League has a new $1.5 million ad campaign narrated by Oprah,
This is the return of something truly spectacular.
strategically targeting those within a car drive. And as we saw recently, those who are coming are glad to be back, even amid continuing uncertainty.
I'm loving the fact that the shows are back and being able to come and see as many shows as possible. So
Please let Broadway stay open, please.
For now, at least, it is. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in New York.